Hello, this is Steve Dodge, the Assistant City Engineer. You're here for the Stormwater Impacts annual meeting we have for our MS4 Stormwater program. And we'll get the meeting started in just a moment. Nicole from our office is assisting me in this virtual conference in order to receive public input and feedback on the stormwater system in Emerald Grove Heights. And Nicole, please let me know when we think we'll stop signing in. We kind of have a long enough pause where we can get started. Nicole, can we get started now?
I don't see anyone else in the waiting room, so we can start at any time.
Thank you, Nicole. We're going to try to keep this on schedule. Again, I'm Steve Dodge, the Assistant City Engineer. And the City Engineer worked with the Stormwater and MS4 program and has basically oversight of overall stormwater management within the rights. And I will go through our municipal stormwater system impacts meeting presentation, and please feel free to chat any questions or comments as we in the chat box, and we will go through the list of those questions and comments at the end in order to answer what we can in the virtual meeting here. So the presenters, me, Steve Dodge, and this is also prepared by Nicole Portugal, engineering technician, who is on the call with us. And we're going to discuss the stormwater pollution prevention plan, known as a SWPP, and the municipal separate stormwater systems, which is known as MS4. And this is an annual meeting to receive, to inform the public and receive feedback. So this is the third five-year round of the MS4 and NPDES permits. And we're now, this is dealing with 2020 report of the 2020 accomplishments and system facts of the stormwater management system. And there's two phases, two portions to this. I mentioned SWPP earlier, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Program. And we'll get into that. And then that's what mostly we're going to be talking about. And a portion of that is what's called the NPDES, is the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. The NPDES really manages the construction side of things, because Emerald Grove Heights right now is in record levels of development and construction. And city staff, the engineering staff has to, is what's considered a local governing unit. The LGU that's charged by the MPCA to make sure we're protecting our waters, not only while this construction is going on, but for other items that we'll cover within this report, like illicit discharges. And this NPDES program and MS4 system requirements were initially a response to the creation of the 1972 Clean Water Act. And that's to regulate and protect discharge pollutants and point sources to surface waters. And the reason we have these annual meetings and we feel they're important is we want to inform the general public of our stormwater management system And, you know, we want to receive comments and feedback, and so that we can adjust and make adjustments to the system, and be aware of any items of importance that need to come to our eyes, so that we can maybe include those in what we call the Stormwater Capital Improvement Plan. And we want to review our best management practices with the public and make adjustments as needed based on feedback. And we have to have this meeting in order to meet the annual requirements of the MS4 permit. So when you go over the SWPP, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, there's 6 areas that we talk about. We talk about the portion we're doing right now, which is the public education and outreach. I'm going to cover briefly on your participation and involvement. And then the third item is what's called illicit discharges. So those are typically point sources, discharges, such as a commercial site, let's say, that's leaching something into the stormwater system, or a construction site could be sending concrete runoff into the storm system and in our ponds. We also talk about the construction site stormwater runoff control mechanisms we have to work with development. And then there's a post-construction stormwater management system. So these are, when we review a development plan, these are the systems that are put in place that after it's all constructed, it's now the system is being managed by the stormwater management system that we approved is in place, which is, you know, ponds and water quality devices and systems like that. And then last thing we'll talk about is the pollution prevention and good housekeeping of our own operations, because obviously we have lots of buildings and we do a lot of our own stormwater management, best practices like street sweeping. So basically this will go over 2020, last year's achievements is, you know, publication and outreach. We did do 2 MS4 related articles in our Insights newsletter that goes to general circulation of Emerald Grove Heights. And we also had resident participation, you know, 28 residents in landscaping for clean water workshops. 8 residents from IGH went into design courses. You know, and those design courses are typically for native vegetation and also in rain gardens. And we had 3 rain gardens that were built and 1 native that was built rain garden. And then in general, we also on our webpage, we keep an update of the report and the annual report for the general public to view. Other entities that we work with are Egan in the Egan Emerald Grove Heights, what's called the Water Management Organization. And with Egan, there's a rain barrel program that I believe they're going to be launching later this summer. Again, this year, it's been a very successful program where residents can buy rain barrels. And then they also do a library for clean water bags that are at the libraries. And so kids and residents can, when they're at the library, can check out water quality bags with games and videos and things they can do for learn about how to promote clean water. We also collaborate with many stormwater groups besides the Egan and IGH Watershed Management Organization. There's also the Lower Mississippi River Watershed Management Organization, the Dakota County Soil and Water Conservation District, and Bowser, Minnesota Bowser, which is Board of Soil and Water Resources. We work very closely with the Dakota County Soil and Water Conservation District, who not only will provide us grants for some of our water quality features on our projects, they also help us with annual training of our staff. Another portion of the SWPP is what's called an illicit discharge. So you can see in that water that we have a picture there that you got some discoloration. You know, it looks like maybe an oil sheen. It's coming a trickle of a little creek that's going between the 2 feet you have there and into a lake. And so we get resident phone calls that inform us of these illicit discharges. We also do annual inspections of 20% of our outfalls into pond systems so that we not only inspect for whether they're functional for these illicit discharges. Some other major sources of discharges are sediment erosion, spills, and accidents. You know, fire and police have to deal with tanker spills and accidents of trucks that may be carrying liquids or pollutants. There's also industrial point source pollution, failing septic systems. It can be something of a concern for Inver Grove Heights because we do have a lot of rural septic systems for residential housing in Inver Grove Heights. So making sure those are functional is very important for the ponds and lakes to remain clean. And there's also illegal dumping that may occur that is usually reported, and then we have to go and investigate. So this year there was 4 illicit discharges identified, reviewed, and investigated, but none of them were found to be an illicit discharge of concern, and so no notice of violations went out in 2020. The next part of the SWPP, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, is the construction site runoff. So as I mentioned, we're going to be in a record year of developments and construction this year. And as far as 2020 goes, there were 80 erosion sediment notices of violation given in Inver Grove Heights by staff consultants. And erosion control inspections occur on these construction sites weekly or when there's a half-inch rainfall or greater. There's a requirement that the sites be inspected, and they make sure your sediment control and erosion control devices are functioning properly and being maintained. The post-construction stormwater management is the cities and private infrastructure systems, the stormwater manholes and pipes and ponds and water quality features such as rain gardens and infiltration features and water quality manhole underground structures. Those are all part of after development comes through or a project is built. That's the basic underlying stormwater management infrastructure system that's left in place to manage the stormwater. And we promote and enforce a 1-inch infiltration requirement outside of what's called the Northwest area. In the Northwest area, which is unique to Grove Heights, that's a location of the city in the northwest quadrant of about 3,000 acres where a lot of development is occurring in the past few years. And that has a 5-year storm volume requirement on that. And most of this information you can find in either the 4th generation stormwater management plan or the Northwest area stormwater management plan. Because the city of Inver Grove Heights has the unique Northwest area, which is a glacial till and landlocked basin area where no stormwater leaves this 3,000 acre area. We need to protect those basins, so that has its own stormwater management plan for Northwest area versus the rest of the drain to the Mississippi River. And then we update the citywide best management practice for our stormwater inventory, and we continue to work with private facilities on our stormwater facility maintenance and oversight. Excuse me, as I bump my mouse. And so we did 10 major plan reviews. So these are developed, or 10 plan reviews are conducted, and then there are 20 major projects under construction, 7 public, 13 private. And but the 10 plan reviews we're talking about in the first bullet are larger projects of 1 acre or larger in size. So those are required to receive what we've referred to as the construction NPDES construction permit earlier in the program. And there were 9 development projects requiring stormwater facilities and maintenance agreements. And so that's how we make sure the private facilities are also being maintained. We have stormwater facility maintenance agreements with these private entities when they're built, so that they know what the requirements are, and their operation and maintenance plans are reviewed by the city staff, and we come to an agreement on how they're going to be maintained. And then the last item is the pollution prevention and good housekeeping for municipal operations. And again, we do 20% of our outfall and pond inspections per year in order to make sure everything is functioning properly and identify any minor or major maintenance activities that may need to be scheduled. There's also street sweeping that occurs on streets every spring and fall. And the Public Works does an inspection of the stormwater facilities that are under our realm of control and oversight. We construct stormwater improvements on city and county projects. We had 2 of those last year. The private development review agreements and construction. There were 7 large-scale projects with agreements in last year that were constructed. And then we also provide, well, these are, this year's objectives, obviously, is what we're looking at here. We want to provide, illicit discharge, MS4 and MPDS training for staff. And then we want to make sure we have pamphlets up at City Hall this year to inform the general public of the stormwater pollution prevention plan, the city's stormwater system. And then also we outside rain garden program that we implement on reconstruction projects in neighborhoods that have infiltratable sandy based soils. And we have over 60 rain gardens throughout our roadside rain gardens throughout our city, which are an amenity to the neighborhoods. And we want to make sure we share that program with the general public and its success on the city website. So we want to add that to the website for 2021 here. We also want to look at our bioretention basin standards and details and get those on the city website. Further develop the what are called the enforcement response procedures, the ERPs, and the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, for stormwater practices by city staff, and making sure all operations and procedures are being followed. And then we continue to apply for stormwater grants, which the city of Elm Grove Heights has been very successful at over the years. We want to continue to administer the Northwest area standards with new developments that protects those glacial regional basins and landlocked basins in the northwest part of our city, and attend various organizational meetings. City engineer and assistant city engineer are assigned to the Lower Mississippi River WMO and meet with them monthly The same thing with the Egan and IGH Watershed Management Organization. We meet with them every 2 months. And then we meet with the Minnesota Coalition of Stormwater Coalition annually. And also the MPCA, we're a stakeholder with them. So we'll continue to maintain Northwest area stormwater models and model other models outside Northwest area within our city. And we have consultants that have stormwater models that we maintain as development occurs. And we'll continue the operation and maintenance notifications to our private stormwater facility partners in Emerald Grove Heights, because we want private storm sewer systems eventually flow into the public stormwater systems, and we need to work together in making sure those are being maintained. And then we'll continue to identify stormwater facility major or minor maintenance and repairs that need to be done on our ponds, pipes, manholes, and water quality devices within the city. And at this time, that kind of gets us to the end of our presentation for the city's stormwater prevention pollution plan. And we would be open to look at any comments you may have in the chat and answer some of those questions. And here's some just some sites that can help get you to locations on the PCA or our stormwater pollution prevention plan on our website, the city, or cleanwatermn.org that has a lot of good information on stormwater prevention, pollution prevention. So Nicole, do we have any questions that in the chat messages that may need to be responded to?
Yes, it looks like Brian Bardner says he has a question. He didn't type it out. I can unmute Brian if you'd prefer to talk out his question. Hold on here, Brian.
Yeah, that's
okay,
fine.
Brian.
If Brian, you could please just state your name and address.
Hi, yeah, this is Brian Barner. I live at 9836 Laureate Trail in Emerald Grove Heights.
Nice to meet you, Brian. What's your question?
So I understand what you're saying, Steve, about the Northwest area being landlocked, and so it has special MS4 requirements. I live near a similar landlocked pond that is in the southern part of Emerald Grove. And I'm struggling to understand why the city allowed MnDOT to put a giant stormwater drain into our pond a couple of years ago. That's causing it to overflow and drown all the trees in the neighborhood and drown the road that goes into our 12-home subdevelopment. So we can't get to our houses anymore without raising the road ourselves. Do you have any comments on that?
I thank you, Brian, for bringing up. We're aware of the Laureate Trail area. I know the city engineer has been the main contact. I'm the assistant city engineer, but the city engineer has been the main contact with the Laureate group. You've probably spoke with them, and I know they were working to provide responses to your neighborhood on your question. So, I think what I do is we'll make sure that, Brian, that we are able to have your contact information if you want to type it in the chat or provide it to us, and we can definitely get back to you. But it would probably be best that the city engineer responds to your question on that one, because he's been working on that project with the Laureate group.
Okay, yeah, I'd appreciate if you could call me about it then. to my contact info in the chat.
Okay, that'd be great. And thanks for, is there anything else, Brian, or is that all you had?
No, I mean, thanks for everything else you guys do and keeping up the city. It's a beautiful city and I enjoy living in it.
Thank you, Brian,
right.
for your comment. And we have, I'm going to mute you again, Brian, sorry. So we have Dawn Getkey that has a question. She says she's a water steward. Dawn, I'm going to ask to unmute you here. Okay, Dawn, are you able to speak?
Yep. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just really
Hi,
interested.
Don. We can hear you. Do you have, could you give us your address too, please?
7477 Cahill Avenue. So I'm one of the water stewards in our city, and I was interested about the twice a year street sweeping. So what would be really interesting to do as a water steward is to work with some of the neighbors in the streets you're going to do beforehand so that they can clean the rain gutters before you come through and do your sweeping. So is there any way I can have a contact with the city and maybe we can work together? Maybe it's probably too late for this spring, but maybe for the fall, we can try to get some people to do like an adopt a drain before you go through with your street sweepers, maybe?
Yeah, so the contact for the street sweeping is our street superintendent, Barry Underdahl. And if you leave us your contact information in chat there, we'll make sure to get Barry's information to you. And then the Public Works Director interim right now is Clay Eccles. And so he, I'm sure Barry could work with you and Clay in order to identify what opportunities are there for you.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Are there
So
any other questions or comments that we
I
want to
did
share?
leave Barry's phone number and email address and Clay's email address in the chat if anyone would like to jot that down. Otherwise, you can reach me with any further questions. It's going to be N as in Nicole, Portugal, PORTUGAL at IGHMN.gov. I can write that in the chat too.
Yep,
I
and
don't see any
Nicole,
further questions.
yeah, I was gonna say if you could just
Sorry, there's a
Nicole,
delay,
I
Steve.
would just go ahead and put your contact information in the chat. No problem. Sometimes there's a delay. Yeah, Nicole, go ahead and put your contact information in the chat. I would also put mine. And just use my 2541 number as well as email. And that way, anyone on this meeting right now can look at that in the chat and they can jot that down. And if they have further comment or questions after this, there's still going to be a public comment period after this meeting for 2 to 4 weeks here, where we will reach out on the website to allow further public comment on our stormwater pollution prevention plan system. And we will then bring it to council in early June, most likely, and just to inform them of public comments or responses that are pertinent to any updates to the system that need to be made. So if there are no further questions or comments, and if Nicole, you got those items posted for them to see?
Yep, they are posted.
All right. I appreciate everyone participating. I know we had quite a few views, on our impact stormwater system posting, and appreciate those that did participate and provide comments. And we'll get back to Brian, and I think Ms. Skepke probably has the contact she needs in order to continue to work with them. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day. You can stop recording now.